issue of migrant children separated from their parents. The Justice Department Inspector General just out with a new report on the Trump administration's separation policies. ABC News correspondents Jacob Soboroff and Julia Ainsley are joining us now. They've been on this jointly for the last 4 years. First of all, Jacob, what are you learning?
Well, Andrea, a couple things. One is I want to say that this report confirms our earlier reporting that not only did Health and Human Services know about the consequences of family separations, the tremendous trauma and consequences of family separations, not only did the Department of Homeland Security know, but the Department of Justice was warned, and they did not coordinate with career prosecutors on the ground. More importantly, DOJ pressured DHS to move forward with this policy. And I think perhaps most significantly, and what you're looking at right now, that's me, in fact, in the facilities at the height of the policy, looking at the hundreds of thousands, ultimately, of separated children. Ultimately, what we're seeing here is that Gene Hamilton, counselor to Jeff Sessions, who was the Attorney General at the time, directly blames the President of the United States and then Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen for moving forward with this policy. And I have the report here. I just want to read a little bit to you from the report. He says explicitly, I want to make sure I'm clear that if Secretary Nielsen and DHS did not want to refer people with minors, with children, then we wouldn't have prosecuted them because they wouldn't have referred them. And ultimately, that decision would be between Secretary Nielsen and the President, not the Department of Justice. So very explicit finger pointing here from a close ally of Stephen Miller at the President of the United States directly for moving forward with this policy that ultimately separated thousands of migrant children from their parents. And we're still going through the report right now, Andrea.
Wow. And Julia, former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, has he responded to this report?
Yes, he has. And he is named in this report quite a few times. As Jacob mentions, the pressure from DOJ. There was an April 20th meeting where Rosenstein, Sessions, and Hamilton sat down with then Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, saying that DHS needed to start separating families because they wanted to increase prosecutions at the border. Now, Rosenstein has responded, and I'm going to read you his full statement because I think it says a lot about the way the former Deputy Attorney General is reviewing his time under this administration in whole. And he says, my Department of Justice colleagues and I faced unprecedented challenges, unlike any I had experienced while serving as a U.S. attorney under Presidents Bush and Obama. I stayed in the job of Deputy Attorney General for 2 years because I wanted to help protect the integrity of elections, defend the rule of law, and preserve the department's independence. Since leaving the department, I have often asked myself what we should have done differently, and no issue has dominated my thinking more than the zero-tolerance immigration policy. It was a failed policy that never should have been proposed or implemented. I wish we had all done better. That's coming from former Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. And really, his response is quite striking after you read this report and see what a role he had. There were U.S. attorneys at the border, Andrea, calling the Justice Department, getting on phone calls with Rod Rosenstein, saying, how young is too young? We are seeing families, we're seeing mothers who are breastfeeding their children come into our courtrooms. And they were told by the Deputy Attorney General, no age is too young to separate and prosecute.
Wow. Let's just say, Jacob, what about these families that are still separated? You know,
it's a critical question. I'm glad you asked it, Andrea. Just yesterday we found out. Just yesterday we found out the latest number, the most recent number. There were still, and this is why this is so important, there were still 611 families separated at the height of this policy, and some of them were separated more than 3 years ago, who the government still has not been able to locate. 611. And ultimately, that's because, lawyers say, the Trump administration handed over bad data, faulty data. And so when we talk about, why is this report all these years later important, that you have Justice Department officials fingering the president directly as responsible for this policy? The consequences of the policy for the families are still playing out on a daily basis. The trauma is being compounded. And the idea that the federal government still can't find 611 of those families and literally get them on the phone is what is at the heart of all of this.
And the lives that are being affected for the rest of their lives, the children, as well as the parents.
That's right.
Jacob Soboroff, you've written the book on this, Julia Ainsley, all of your reporting. The combination of the two of you is so powerful. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.